Hello, folks. It's Canada Day, July 1st. The worst of the heat has broken. We're no longer making records every day. All-time records for heat up here. That means that it's noon, I can come outside, which is great. I had been kind of inside from noon to 8 or 9 in the basement where it's cool. Came outside to water stuff and like animals and plants, and then went back in a lot. I was trying to take care of myself. Things have grown a lot. Everything seems to have been mostly watered okay, which means that my tomato trial seems to be doing pretty well. The other day I came out and I recorded everything that had actual tomatoes on it. So you can see some of these have baby tomatoes on them right now. This is Bloody Butcher. This row down the middle, which is the Joseph Lofthouse and William Schlegel exerted stigma plants. So let's see if I can find here's a beautiful one. Can see here that there's the very center of the flower, there's a little green thing that sticks out. That is the female part of the flower that gathers pollen. And it, in a lot of tomato plants, it's covered. So if we go over here and look at this tomato plant, it's not sticking out at all. It's just covered by the male parts of the plant. So the plant just pollinates itself. It doesn't crossbreed with any of the other plants around it. And so what I did is I put this whole row of exerted stigma tomatoes down the center of my trial in the hopes that some of the pollen from the other plants would get transferred here, and instead of having to hand pollinate a bunch of crosses, I could just kind of let nature do that for me and save the seeds from this middle row and get something very interesting next year. So these plants they were specifically bred not just to be able to cross-pollinate like that, but also to be able to deal with some adverse conditions. And so the idea is that if you get the plants to cross a lot with other plants, and then also to have a strong selection pressure on them, what you do is you try lots of different plants from all those different crosses, and some of them will be good, and you just save the ones that are good instead of having to hand pollinate everything. I just saw over here. So anyhow, those plants that were bred for adverse conditions seem to have done a good job at setting fruit. Look at this. This is the first outdoor tomato. Well, I do have a sweet chariot on the deck, which is like a little cherry tomato that's turning red. This is a Bloody Butcher. I mean, obviously this tomato formed when it was still in the pot, and it's just decided that it's going to finish trying to make that seed before it grows much, which is cool. It's a good survival strategy, is to look out for your children before you do too much else. So this is actually really exciting. I haven't been out here. Things have been growing. The squash has been growing. It's had some time establishing. I've put a little bit of mulch on it, but I want to mulch everything. Mulch helps keep the ground from having extremes of temperature and water. Normally, I was thinking not to mulch this year because the mulch can insulate the ground and help keep it from warming up. And up in the north here, like you don't want the ground to not warm up, but the ground is quite warm enough now. So I need to dig out this pile of mulch, dig out the mulch in that house and there, and transport it. It would have been really great to have that on the plants during the heat because they got kind of stressed, but I was not able to come out and shovel stuff and haul stuff in that temperature. I think everything survived. I did a lot of watering. Some of the corn is just exploded here. You can see how uneven this growth is. Like right here, the corn is smaller. Then it gets bigger, but not all the seeds came up. And then this corn in the middle is doing like super well. It's even tillering, which is like sending out these mini corn plants from the base. Greens pretty much all do that if they're happy. Then over here we're like less great again, but like a couple nice ones in the back and here. So these center ones are all one variety, and I'm not sure if it's the variety that's doing well or if it happens to be just a very good patch of soil or temperature. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll always be interesting to see what happens. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this work out of altruistic, scientific, whatever. I love seeing what happens. I get curious. I want to know what happens. The pigs have dug themselves some very deep wallows. They're like 2 feet deep. And they've just been doing amazing in the heat. I fill the wallows with cold water. I try and alternate between them so that there's always one that's kind of cooler. And they just they get up, have a little bath, get wet, get muddy, go and lie somewhere. That's baby lying in the sun, which, it's not that cold, baby. And he is black and covered in wool. But I guess these pigs are, they did evolve to their current state in Georgia, which is hotter than here. So I guess they have good genes for this. Hey guys. I made this shelter for to keep the rain off of them back when, and they're really using it for shade. It's been really helpful for them. You can see it's kind of on a rise here, and there's the wall doesn't go all the way to the ground, so the wind blows like right under it. The wind is like blowing right across the space more than it is anywhere else, so that's probably why they're there. Down here, this white stuff is an invasive. It's scentless chamomile, but where that is not, there's my clover starting to grow in. I haven't watered any of this. You can see the ground is cracking. That's because there's a lot of clay in it. It's not even, I'm not sure if I can show this to you. Maybe you can see it right here. It's hard with all the ground isn't even that dry. Like, the surface is dry, but the clay holds onto water. And when it holds onto water, it expands. And then when it lets go of the water, it contracts and shrinks up. And that's why you get all of these cracks. So it looks very, very dramatic. Oh. here we go. I have turnips. This is a turnip. And, oh shoot, cabbagey things. I planted various cabbagey things in with the clover. And I'm just amazed at how well this is doing with no water and all of that. I need to pull out that scentless chamomile before it goes to seed too much, though. I don't want that in here. The apple trees are, their fruit is setting really well. I've been alternating the goose pool under the two different trees, moving it back and forth because it's water and fertilizer for them. I dump it every day and then refill it. And last year I also had a pool over by the rhubarb. I don't this year. The rhubarb is noticeably smaller over there. Oh, sorry, goose. Need to dump that and refill it. Not that it'll stay clean for very long. We have some goose friends in here. These are not the best goose parents. They seem to be hatching the babies okay, but I keep having to round the babies up from outside and bring them in here. Probably they get thirsty and hungry. I've been trying to keep some water here for them as well, which I clearly need to go get more of. Hi, little one. Hi, little one. This little yellow guy here is very independent. See him on his own, like going and hanging out with ducks and things. He might have imprinted a little bit on that one duck, which makes him maybe confused about whether he should be close to geese or ducks. Is that right, little one? And then his very new friend back here. You're very new. You were born yesterday. You're very cute. The garden is just exploding with this heat. I had this weeded like 4 days ago. I have to go in and weed it again. You can see there was just a little bit of drying out damage on these favas. But things are doing pretty well. The rhubarb kind of curled up a little bit. The sweet Sicily has all like super gone to seed, which means that I need to cut all those seed heads off and candy them. Because with this, the speed that everything is growing, if I don't get to that real soon, then I'm gonna have problems. I just won't have any sweet Sicily candy. Had this sprinkler up watering the raspberries. There is so much fruit set on these raspberries. They're just like loaded. This is Red Saskatchewan Bounty. Oh, ducklets, you're going to need so much water right now. The ducklets have grown a lot. A lot. And they finally all mixed together. Which means I need to get them out into here. So you can see this little pen here. Has lots of grass, it's nice and cool. It has wire that will hold those babies in, given how big they are now. I just, I need to put branches across, like that, but longer branches, from side to side, so that the crows and ravens can't get in. Used to be some netting is stapled up there. I don't think I can find a tree that's long and light enough that I can make a center pole across and things up. I don't know. I need to mess with this I need to get them out here soon because there's too little space in there and it's much nicer out here. But I need to mess with it so that it's not just like feeding time for ravens. That would be very sad. Grain is starting to head up. I did butcher the other day. This is here from that. The coolest spot in my yard actually is like this little area here. It's pretty nice right now. You can see, look. It's my wheat trial. The first here to head up is Prelude, which it was developed in 1912, and it was sold to me as the earliest wheat in Canada. And looks like it's the earliest wheat in the trial. What's the next one down there? Pembina is the next one in the row, and it's starting to head up. It's a bunch of barley that's starting to head up, and this one on the end here that you can see, the kind of a short one, is blue tinge Ethiopian wheat. The one that's real short in the middle is einkorn, so it's an ancient wheat. It's interesting to me that that would be shorter right now. Maybe it grows more slowly, but we have been breeding our grains to be shorter over time. Yeah, very, very interesting. Actually, let's go in and look around. Here we are inside the garden. You can see some of the wheat looks very different from itself. Like there's, this one doesn't have awns, which are those like long hairs on it. This one does have awns. Those long hairs, like when I'm touching them like this, they feel kind of rough. Almost like Velcro. And they have little barbs on them. So you don't usually want to get too much of that on you, or like when they dry out and they're brittle, especially. This einkorn here that I was just talking about being so short is heading up a little bit. That's super exciting. One of my goals for this trial, one of them was to obviously see whether it would ripen, and what would ripen, whether they would all ripen. This is the Ethiopian one, which is like super short. And the other is that, you know, if I plant 30 or 40 seeds, then I'll have a bunch of seed for next year. I just love the differences in them. And then over here, ooh, it's been both really hot and there have been a lot of mosquitoes, and I've had to open up my house at night to cool it down. So I'm super jumpy about mosquitoes right now. Oh, look. What are we? Reward. That's one of those like Canadian classics. Super beautiful. And then over here, to make sure I'm not stepping on things. Oh, here's Gaspé corn. So it's a corn from northern Quebec. Well, more north than most people live in Quebec. And it just grows like knee-high. Last year, I planted it too far apart to pollinate because I didn't realize just how short it stayed. That one's doing really well. This is the same corn and it's smaller. So I don't know, like a dirty foot for reference. And dirty foot for reference over here. So clearly like this spot is better than that spot. And the corn in the far back here, which hasn't been getting watered as well, and also is over there, I don't know, it hasn't been doing that well at all. It's a different kind. So I thought it was maybe not good because it was a different kind, but given how much of a difference this same variety is having, I don't think that's it. I think there's something, maybe a lot of aspen roots up there. Maybe too much shade, I don't know. That's not a happy place for corn, apparently. So I should stop planting corn there and put something else there next year. This is barley. You can tell barley by the hairs like kind of go out a little bit instead of up as much. It's more like a shaving brush instead of a, I don't know, kind of splayed out. Some of the barley also doesn't have those awns, doesn't have the hairs on it, and it looks super weird and neat. Not very many of the seeds of this kind came up. This is called Faust. It's pretty popular right now because it doesn't have the awns. And actually, when you look at this, you can see those little greeny white things that are hanging out on the ends of it. Those are the flowers. And they release pollen and capture pollen. So, anyhow, it didn't have very good germination. Not very many of the seeds that I planted grew. But if you look in here, it did that thing called tillering, where one plant sent up, like one seed here, sent up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seed heads. So that's nice. That means I'll get, I planted the last of my seed, so hopefully it ripens, and then I get some seed back. The two things that are not showing heads, well, a bunch of things aren't really showing heads, but this one isn't at all. It was planted a little bit later, and it is a soft white wheat. And then over in the back there is another wheat. Oh look, there's just like two heads in this one. It's really uneven. Which one is this? These, labeling everything with these was really great. Oh, well, it's a white Sonora wheat. This is like really famous for things like tortillas. Obviously from much warmer climate than I have, but it seems to be, maybe it'll ripen. Oh, and then here, see all these little white flowers? Those are soup peas for like making pea soup. So I'm hoping those will ripen. And then these kind of tall silvery plants are bachelor buttons. And there are poppies mixed in amongst the wheat. So I'm hoping to get some, to be able to stand up on my deck there and look down and see some nice flower color later in the year. Meanwhile, I have clumps of oregano here that when I planted the seeds, hard to imagine now, I planted the seeds and you can't see the seeds at all. So I planted oregano plants as an edge, so I knew where the edge of the bed was and didn't step on the seeds. And now the wheat plants are so much bigger than the oregano. But I now have that oregano, and I did the same thing with parsley here. Parsley is this shape leaf, and you can see it in amongst the weeds. It goes down like that, which means I can make some nice chimichurri sauce. This is the corn that's not growing very much. This grass-looking thing is the corn with a dirty foot. So, yeah, this bed, I don't know. You can see these little aspen trees poking up here along the fence. So it might just be that there are roots under there that are pulling out all the food and water and not leaving any. But even the weeds, like those weeds, are less lush looking than the weeds right over here. What I think I'll do this year is dump a whole bunch of chicken bedding and goose bedding on there in the fall. Let it compost over the winter, and hopefully that'll give it some nutrients and some water holding capability. Chickens, you're having a good dust bath. You can see there are more aspen babies popping up all along there, which is really bad because right in the middle of the frame right now is where my essentially sewage system is. There are pipes and a tank, and the pipes come out of the tank, well, go from the house to the tank, and then they go down into my lagoon over there. So basically everything rots in the tank, and then the extra water goes out into the lagoon and dries out. And these roots want to go in and steal all the combination of water and sewage that's so delicious for trees. And cutting them down doesn't do anything. Like, I cut these down last year. It just makes them grow again because they're all attached to the parent trees here. They have all the food and water they ever want. So I have to do something about that. But yeah, it's bearable outside right now. Everything is growing, well, except these stinging nettles, which are being eaten by caterpillars. I need to just chop them down. They get eaten by caterpillars like every second year. There's those tall ones there are fava beans. Oh, we'll go in there later on. But I think this is probably too long already. So I am going to cut this video short, or cut this video long, and hope that on this day when so much is going on, a lot of things are burning, a lot of things are too hot, and we are finally really starting to understand what Canada means to people who were here before Canada was here, and how dangerous it was to them. That can be hard to hold, so I hope that you can get outside a little bit and feel a little bit of ease and connection. It's hard times, but the garden is always here for me. I'm lucky. Take good care.